So what did you do for your birthday?
I sent my first job application.
On
No,
the
that
birthday.
that sounds like the first ever in my life. No, like after being a not so successful freelancer.
No, shut up. What do you mean? Like you're doing so much stuff.
Yeah,
That's
but I'm
just
not getting paid enough. So,
that's the story of our lives, really. Who are kidding? Like, oh yeah,
but
definitely.
no.
What kind of job?
It was a 3D jewelry designer job,
Oh.
and it was in
Mm.
my country. So I was like,
Oh.
what are the chances? Because I was actually thinking I'd really like to do jewelry. Like I've been
Mm.
creating a portfolio even before that. So I'm like, what are the fucking chances, right? Um,
True, true.
yeah, I almost had a panic attack yesterday. But yeah, I was just I must have been like full OCD mode. I checked my portfolio details more than like 50 times before I sent it.
Oh my goodness. No
No,
way.
it's fun. It's like a sitcom of anxiety.
Again, story of our lives. Like, so what is it? They're looking for like a 3D creator or like a designer or
Yeah, like a 3D designer that I guess will take like the sketches or like the 2D design and will create 3D
mm,
jewelry. I'm not sure if it's for like 3D printed jewelry or if it's like for advertisement purposes and for like website display. But yeah, it's funny because I created a like the CV inside the portfolio, like the second page. Like I didn't
yeah.
separate them, and
Mm.
I created a template which was like so highlighted on my skills and not the freelance experience. It's like 3 bullet points, and the rest is like 5 and 6. Um, I also added a section, what sets me apart. And I'm like,
Oh,
that's bold of me. Like
go
I'm trying to
you. No,
sell myself.
no, like I think that's the most interesting thing about this industry. Like it exists, but it doesn't. So most of the artists, especially the people who are like successful, have all sort of made it on their own. So it's not like we have, like degrees or we went and did
Mm,
courses or we like even interned under anyone big. I don't
yeah.
think most people have, to be honest. So it's like, well, what are we left with? We're left with like a list of these are the things that I like doing, and these are things I'm good at. Here's a
Yeah, yeah,
rainbow.
yeah. Yeah, and like achievements from 3 years ago. Like exhibitions in NFT New York where everyone applies and gets exhibited.
Everyone is a winner.
But they don't know, so
One of the crazy, like, I don't know, modern day psychology is that, but I don't know. But yeah,
yeah.
that's insane. Oh, but yeah, so yeah, I think it's a good start. You made your first step.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you. That's
Thank you.
exciting.
Thank you so much. I mean, um, for everyone watching, they don't know, but you have helped me so much to like both rethink how to do my CV and my portfolio and like initiate, which is like, I think would also be the theme we can talk about, which is so related to this podcast or like, yeah,
100%.
whatever we're doing.
I don't know what we're doing, but we'll figure it out. We'll
No,
call it
no,
something.
but that's the beautiful thing. It took us some time, but this is like part of the journey and the process. And we won our fear with what we're doing today. So fuck your fear.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. No, yeah, no, yeah.
Okay, so do you want to share what you have been doing or like whatever you want to share?
Um, I haven't really really been doing much sort of like creative design wise. It's been more hobby, to be
Mm,
honest.
mm,
So I've been sort of working with Galverse, which is like an NFT project. I've
mm.
sort of been on with them. I'm mainly doing translation work for them. I actually made a AR filter for them once. I'm not sure if I ever told you about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I think you have told me once, but I don't remember what it was like about. Was it for like a release of a character? Was it for something specific?
That was for, well, the one I've created several actually, but the one that they commissioned me for, or like I actually kind of pitched it and then they said yes. But we did like a Halloween, like a gal Halloween
Okay.
filter. They did like a Halloween, so they called it Galloween, putting gal
Yeah.
and Halloween together.
I love the
Uh,
wordplay always with Galverse.
that's good, right?
Yeah.
So they did a Halloween event, I think it was 2 years ago now. So not last Halloween, but the one before. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like we should like do something. It'll be really cool to have like a AR filter that people could use when they're
Mm,
there at the event. And also people who are sort of overseas can also like
mm,
feel a part of the event, even if they didn't make it physically to Tokyo. So yeah, I ended up I don't think it made it to Instagram. I did make it for both, but we definitely had it on Snapchat. And so a few of
mm.
the people used it on the night. And also for fun, I actually made the Shinsei Galverse earrings. That was more as a passion project, really. But yeah, so those are a few that I've made. I went totally off topic, but what I wanted
No,
to
we
say
don't have a
was
specific topic. You can go wherever. We have so many roads to explore just.
that's true, that's true.
No, but I wanted to say I love how you are like the best person for Halloween things. I remember you also did stickers, Halloween stickers for Orb. For anyone who doesn't know, Orb is a mobile social app for on the Lens ecosystem. And yeah, I think it's also like it connects nice with the fact that you are born close to Halloween as well. You have the Halloween essence.
Very true. Oh yes, I'm like a week after Halloween.
Yeah.
Just putting that in there for anyone who's listening. But no, I never saw that connection. I didn't even realize. I totally almost forgotten about the orb stickers as well. Not the fact that I made them, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that those were Halloween as well. Obviously, at the time, I was like, oh, Halloween's coming up. Let's just make something for Halloween. But yeah, it's sort of like becoming almost like a theme. Maybe I need to make something this year as well. I should
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
that.
that's what I was thinking.
What I've been doing for fun is I don't want to jinx it, but I've given myself a challenge to do one video a week just to like help in my own way promote Galverse because they're anime, they're crowdfunded, so they did like an NFT. It was originally an NFT project,
Mm,
which was used to crowdfund an original anime, and the anime is going to come out. They sort of they haven't given the date yet, but in a Twitter space this morning, they mentioned that it will be sometime mid this year, maybe, hopefully, fingers
yes.
crossed. So I'm hoping that I can try and keep up to doing like one video or like one post a week that I keep posting up until when the anime comes out. So I'm on week 3 this week. And so I created and posted a post on Monday. Hopefully, I can keep doing them on Mondays. See? And so up until now, I've just been using the VRM file. Galverse actually commissioned an artist called, we'll just insert a photo, I think, of commissioned a sort of 2D, 3D artist to create VRMs for both Zero and Didi, who are like the main characters of Galverse, and more specifically the anime that's coming out. And so the Galverse team were like super generous and just let all the holders. And I think in the case of Didi, like anyone could download it at the time, right? and use it,
Okay.
which is super exciting. And they did like a competition at the time, which you happened to win. It was amazing. I love your pieces.
Yay! Thank you so much.
Yes.
It was so fun. I've never uh experimented with the VRM model,
Mm.
and especially the shaders, the toon shaders.
It's still like a mystery to me. I don't know. You have to teach me how you did your piece. Like I don't.
You know what? Just like this podcast, I honestly just winged it. Um, so
That was
I,
yeah. Keep going.
sorry, no, no, no. So I installed like Warudo on
Mm.
stream on Steam, not stream. Now we are on stream or yeah. Um, but yeah, I had no idea about this area at
Mm.
all, which is like you're like a VR tuber. How is it called?
Yeah.
Yeah,
VTubing,
yeah,
VTubery.
yeah. Yeah. I can't talk. I can spell it, but but yeah. I like imported the VRM model of is it called Didi?
Yeah, DD. Yeah.
Yeah, Didi. And I got so shocked. So like like coming from like a 3D background where like retargeting or like face tracking and stuff, especially free ones are like they're very inaccurate. Okay, let's say they're very funny in their results.
Yeah.
I only had my webcam as a tracking device, and for some reason it was super good.
Mm.
Um, and then I downloaded another app which is for Warudo. It connects to Warudo, which I can't remember the name now,
Mm.
but it's for tracking the whole body and face, everything still with a webcam. I think it's through like NVIDIA with the NVIDIA system.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, and at that time, I forgot the word again. Um, uh,
VTuber? No? No?
no,
Oh.
it's not Tai Chi. Yeah, Qigong, I think it's called.
Okay.
Like a Chinese energetic practice and exercise.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I had started doing like daily exercises, and I thought, okay, because this contest was about also to showcase the bonsai values, which are very related to meditation and nature. I thought,
yeah.
okay, this seems fun. I should like try to doing like my daily exercises retargeted on the DD model. And then I imported this whole thing to Blender, and to my surprise, the tune shaders were gone, which was for me was like much easier to play around. And I honestly just experimented and I just winged it. And like, don't get me wrong, there were still like very wiggly movements at some areas, but in 3D, it's all about stealing it with what you can see on the front view and playing
Yeah.
with camera shots. So, and yeah, I just had gradually, I just started um, connecting to my mind because, like, with Qigong, it's like you move the energy. I thought
Mm.
it would be great to just make hermit particles and the trees are growing, which is like connected to bonsai. So I don't know how, and I did this in like most of the work, I did it in like 2 days. So yeah, but I was like 12 hours.
No,
And
yeah,
yeah,
I was gonna ask how long do you reckon you put into like how many hours do you reckon you put into it? So do you think like 24 hours or like more?
I think experimenting with Warudo, it was
Mm.
around 5 days to understand how everything works and like researching for the other program and how to connect it. It was like uh, so unknown to me. But after
Yeah.
that, yeah, the basic thing was like 2 days, the most of the work.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
insane. That's like a full week and like full time, right? Like full time, just focusing on that basically for that whole time, and that's how long it took you to create that piece. That's insane. But yeah, it sort of like connects to a point that I wanted to sort of share, and maybe we can like make this one of our themes moving forwards, but
Mm.
just how hard it is to find information, especially when it comes to sort of 3D work or like creating these sort of like immersive slash sort of multimedia pieces, right?
Yeah,
Is what
yeah,
like you and I do. And I think every single time we create something, we are stitching together like at least 5 different YouTube videos or like
yeah,
tutorials, blog posts that we sort of like bring out of absolutely nowhere, but from, like hours and hours of research in order to create something. And I think that's probably like the hardest part,
mm.
like the creation itself and the sort of like coming up with ideas, especially if you're like in a zone. It just comes to us. Like I think
Yeah,
with what you demonstrated with this piece as well, it's sort of like, oh, it made sense, it was sort of where I was at the moment, and
yeah,
like it
yeah,
just all sort of like fell into place. But that wouldn't come together if you didn't know where to find those, because as you said, like Warudo, it was like your first time using it. Like that's insane. Like
yeah,
no one in their like normal mind would be like, oh, I'll just give it a try, it'll work out, or I'll see if it works
yeah,
out, right? So I think that's quite cool, and I love to like keep that conversation going. I think it's an interesting one
yeah,
for us to
yeah,
explore and like share as well, to be like, this is how I got to this piece, but not for it to be like the end perfect version, but to be
yeah.
like, I went to this Blender tutorial and it was absolute shit. So
The
don't
whole
watch it.
train wreck before the the actual thing. Yeah,
Before
yeah,
the
and
30 seconds of heaven, yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I think like the research, it's like a treasure hunt. Honestly, it's like
Mm,
I don't know if it's like masochistic, but in a way, I kind of like the research part. Like I like
you're
that
insane.
the information isn't that available sometimes. Like
Mm.
when I have the time and the mindset and I want to explore and I'm very in the zone, I kind of like it because this way it's not like the linear path to do something. You find ways that maybe haven't been tried yet in combination, and you like kind of invent stuff or like workflows in a way. But yeah, I agree that we both have a lot to say about how tiring the these processes, and also so many different kinds, if it's like video articles, forums, and you can't find the exact same answer, so you have to try some of the stuff in hopes. And the other thing, sometimes some kind of troubleshooting is like a very simple thing, like one button that we don't know yet, right? And we do the most complicated stuff, and then it's like one click, and you're like, I need to like put fire on everything right now, right?
Just no, just can it all, need to scrap it. It's all good. It's all gone. Like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
That reminded me when back in the day, so when we first like properly interacted, like we had known each other for a while, but the first proper time we like started talking was probably the digital fashion residency, I think.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
like when we were like non-stop talking like every
yeah.
day. But you helped me out with my final piece. Thank you so much for that, by the way.
And you also
And
helped me with my final piece, if you haven't forgotten. We both like helped each other so much.
very true. That's very true. No, but yeah, you created like the hairstyle for my piece, and you had sent it to me. I think your end of the day, your day. So you're in Europe, I'm in Japan. So like by the time you sent it, it was middle of the night for me. So I woke up the next day, opened the file, and I just couldn't. I don't know. Maybe I should go and try and find a screenshot of me going like, "What is happening? I broke it. I must have done something." And like the particle, what is it? The hair particles, and they had like blobs all over them. I think it was like the styling part, and it was like you just said before, it was literally one button that I had to press to turn off. But I spent like forever like looking things up and like trying to go, what did I do wrong? Like, did I download it wrong? Did I like put it like import it in a weird way? Like, should I be importing it as
Yeah.
like a file or something? Should I like, and going through all these theories and like looking things up with no information whatsoever.
Yeah.
But you took like a few hours probably, I can't remember, but to like problem solve, and you were like, yeah, it's this one button, and we were just like, what?
Yeah, it's so annoying. And also, I remember how we were also sending each other projects so we could see if it was, something different in the settings, or we had like a different Blender version. It's so much troubleshooting, but you know what? I feel like it affects so many things. I feel it both strengthened like our
Mm.
bond in a way that we went through the whole thing together, and the anxiety we had to both do like our final project super quick as well. um and also it felt like we won the challenge, right? It was a whole thing.
Handing it in or like minting it on time felt like the most like satisfying thing I think we ever experienced.
Yeah.
And then of course seeing it in the wild in London being on display and stuff was also super
Yeah.
exciting. But I think that initial hand in was very liberating, like you said, and just satisfying and just almost addictive, I think, to some
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
That might
Yeah.
be, yeah,
Like
makes it.
we succeed at the one task, we get dopamine, and then it also like builds confidence in troubleshooting and problem solving, which I think is such an important skill, like in many things, but also it's like you have the guts to do 3D and like multimedia and the whole troubleshooting, and yeah, it's very important.
No, yeah, definitely, definitely. Because that was like my first time properly in Blender as well. So like now to think of it, that was insane for me personally. So it was like super helpful to have like you sort of guiding me through literally everything, to be honest, because you're like, here's this is what the human generator is, and like all the sort of like steps. That was fun. It was so much fun.
For me, it's insane that it was like your first like proper time and you did the piece you did. Like I was so, and still I'm like so impressed by what you did. And like no matter the guidance, this stuff need time and a lot of practice. So it was like very impressive how quickly you were learning, and still like that's a quality you have, that you learn so super fast. And also it was like I was also very beginner at like creating garments outside of Blender. Like,
True,
so you
true, true.
also helped me uh on that side. I think I wouldn't be able to do this. You also like helped me create the basic shape of my garment, because
That's
like
great.
I don't know how I felt so stupid. I just couldn't 2 layers. It was like it's funny now that I know how to do this because it's very simple, but at that time it was like, what is this new world? What is it? This kind of like rocket science, right?
No, yeah, definitely, because we were creating our garments in a program. I think we were both using Marvelous Designer at the time, if I remember correctly. Like Chloe or Marvelous Designer is one of
Yeah,
them too.
yeah,
So it's essentially it is a 3D program, but it's a program where you can literally create garments, but in your computer. So you sort of create the pattern, you cut it out, you sew it together within that program. So everything acts in the same way as it does in real life. So there's like fabric. Um, what's it called? What do you call it? Simulation, not simulation, that's a 3D word. I'm blanking on
the
like fashion
oh,
terms.
so like the how the fabric behaves. like the
That's the
structure,
one. Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like very similar. So you like need to create, you need to bring in an avatar, so like a human form that is the same, roughly the same height and
Mm.
proportion to someone in real life, and you literally
Mm.
dress them in sort of like, so you can literally make a top like this, for example, and it'll be in proportion. So it is very different to programs like Blender, which are more, now that I've used it, is a lot more mathematical, I
Mm.
think is the right term. So
Mm.
it's like almost like a 3D version of a graph.
Yeah.
So it's like, you have the X and the Y and the Z, and it's literally going, oh, I want to go 1 centimeter this way, or
Yeah. Yeah.
further down, for example, or I want to shrink it this much, or, and the more you use it, the more fun it gets, and things like geometry nodes as well. I definitely want to dive into that further down the road, because I tried it for like a millisecond and I was like, this is too much. It was fun,
Yeah.
but it was a lot. But yeah, it's a lot more mathematical and a lot more sort of easier to handle, I think, even if you're not like an artist
Mm.
in some way. Obviously, in order to create something that's artistic, you need artistic skills. But to
Mm.
actually just run the program, you don't really technically need artistic knowledge
Mm. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much. But yeah, so those are like the differences of those two programs.
I'm trying to like see this from a perspective of someone who hasn't tried any of these programs, which is like very hard. You started first with like we have the two opposites, right? Um, yeah, I think Blender is more overwhelming, maybe for a beginner because of the like the interface and the fact that it's like how is it called, like a Swiss knife? Like you can do so many different things, and because it's like also it is very technical. Like for me, I started as coming from like art, like digital art, like digital painting. But when I
Mm.
started, I felt so overwhelmed um to do it. I think maybe I don't know if it's because I had some knowledge in 3D when I started using Claw, but
Mm.
the curve was much easier compared to learning Blender. Because I think um in like Claw and Marvelous, there are steps that are repetitive that give you a specific, like the basic stuff. If you learn them, you can do so many things, right? Of course, you have to troubleshoot and learn new stuff, but I think it has like a ceiling of a learning curve. Like, okay, now you're finished with most of the knowledge, right? Whereas in Blender, I feel there is no ceiling.
No,
um
definitely not.
yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree for sure, especially with like Chloe and Marvelous. It's a program, they are a program that are designed for one purpose, and it's to create 3D fashion garments.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the ultimate, like you mentioned, people come use that program to create something that is at least made out of fabric, if not
Mm.
literally wearable. So that makes it probably easier to both use, but also to create the program itself as well. And so there's only so many tools that are needed.
Mm.
Obviously, Clo has a lot more tools because it's also designed in a way that you can actually physically create the garments afterwards and
Mm.
in physical form. So essentially, you can play around in the 3D format. Once you're happy with it, you can then export the
Mm.
patterns that you've made, the details that you've created, and then use that directly and either send it to like a company that can create the item
Mm.
for you, or you could literally use scissors and fabric and create the garment yourself, which is super exciting, I think. Marvelous is more for 3D designers. So it's
Mm.
sort of designed, it's optimized to create items or garments that are to be used in the 3D world. So whether that be in like a game, or what are other examples of like artwork, which is what we use it for, and your games, also movies. Quite a few movies have used them.
Yeah.
So like Frozen 2, uh quite a few, I think like Hobbit as well, and a few others
Really?
have actually, yeah, if you look it up, there's like a few articles where they're like, we use Marvelous Designer. And it's like, what?
I
And
had
this
no
was like years
idea.
ago as well, like when they only just came out with Marvelous, that they used it. So there's bound to be
Wow.
like even more now. So yeah, it's like people literally in the industry, both in like gaming and entertainment, all use it. So it's definitely one to at least be familiar with, would be
Mm.
helpful, I think. Around, well, we'll see where AI goes from here on. I'll probably be
Yeah.
useless in like a year's time. But no, I think it'll take longer than that. But at least for now, it's a good skill to have.
Yeah, about Marvelous and its integration to like movies and games. Um, I've also like from more a Blender user perspective, I've also seen an increasing use of Marvelous design instead of like creating the clothes in Blender, because there are many people who have seen like they just model the clothes, but you
Mhm.
cannot have like a realistic simulation. I've even seen kind of faking the simulation by creating a rig for the clothes,
Oh,
which
wow.
is genius, but at the same time, I think it takes so much time to do this manually. Um, there are also
Def-
some uh, challenges, which I saw one recently. I think it's called Punisher. It's someone who does like yearly or like every 6 months, like some challenges with a theme. And for the people that were participating in the challenges, they were providing some stuff, and one of that was
Mhm.
1 month free in Marvelous Designer to create their submission, which is awesome because not it like helps people like learn the program and become more familiar with it. So I think
No, yeah.
it's definitely like being more uh normalized as being part of the process in whatever 3D generalist kind of program one may use. So that's exciting. And maybe Marvelous will follow what Chloe is doing and actually create like more of a bridge between manufacturing and real garments. I don't know if that's in the plans, but that would be awesome as well.
My understanding, I haven't like talked to anyone in depth about it. So it's
Mm.
what I've heard. I haven't talked to them directly. But so Chloe and Marvelous are under the same umbrella. They're by the same company.
Oh, okay. I
So
had no idea.
yeah, it's actually not that well known. But so essentially, I think I can't remember which one came first. I'm presuming Chloe. I could be wrong. But then they realized that a lot of people in the gaming industry, or sort of like amateur gaming industry, had started using the program to create virtual clothing. So they were
Mm.
like, hang on, this is both a business opportunity and obviously they can sell it for cheaper as well, which
Mm.
is how Marvelous was born. I think it was that way around. It might have been the other
Mm.
way, but essentially that's how the two programs came to be. So I remember in a Marvelous Designer conference, I think it was like 3 years ago, someone asked a similar thing, but they were
Mm.
like, no.
Nah.
So unfortunately, yeah, I don't think so. There's like pros and cons to both, right? Like Chloe, obviously, like we've been talking about, it's very physical or like real world oriented. So it's for people like fashion designers, fashion
Yeah.
brands to help aid their like back and forth and also sort of like communication as well. Whilst Marvelous Designer, as we've discussed, is for 3D
Mm.
garments. So you can also do things like sculpting inside Marvelous Designer as well. I've never really used it yet.
I
So you
had
can
no
like add
idea.
more wrinkles. Yeah, you can like add more
With
wrinkles and stuff.
brushes?
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely need to try this. Yeah.
So yeah, there's like a lot of so it feels like it's like a lesser version of Clo, but there are a few tools in there that are optimized for 3D creation.
Mm.
So ultimately, I think it's up to how you want to use it. And there's pros and cons to both. I think a lot of people who are sort of professionally or like full time creating digital fashion,
Mm.
they lean towards Clo because
Yep.
there are a lot of like hyper realistic detail creation tools that you can use that sort of speed up your
Mm.
process. But then again, there's the sculpting and stuff on Marvelous. So if you aren't too familiar with, say, like ZBrush or Blender, then it makes
Mm.
sense for you. As long as you know Marvelous, then you can get all those tools in one place.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. I'd love to hear like what other people use and why they
Yeah.
choose one or the other. And of course, there's still Style 3D as well. I'm interested to see if anyone uses it. I think there's a Japanese virtual character called Ima. Her company have started working with Style 3D recently. I'm not sure what motivated that
It's like a
change.
clothing company.
Yeah, so they kind of do a lot of things, but the core of their business is this virtual influencer called Ima. And she's like
Okay.
this young Japanese girl with like vibrant pink hair, and essentially she does not exist, right? So
Yeah.
she like goes to all these parties and like has a blast, and they take all these
Okay.
photos of her, but she doesn't actually physically exist.
Okay.
But because she doesn't physically exist, everything that she wears has
Mm.
up until recently been made using, I think, Clo, but it looks like that they moved over to Style 3D recently because I think the integration of Style 3D to Unreal Engine at the moment is the
Mm.
most advanced.
Yeah.
My
I
understanding. Yeah.
They have, I think, either a plugin or like a second program
Oh,
for
that's
Unreal,
right.
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, seems like Style 3D is branching more than the rest of the. There are less niche. They are starting to try new things and see, all the opportunities and like target groups that exist
Mhm.
and what they can provide more like broadly, which
Yeah.
is cool. It's cool to have this kind of variety. And something I want to say about Chloe and Marvelous, I have an analogy in mind about also, we have talked about this before about socials and how everything in the past had like a specific use, and now everyone is trying to be the copy of each other, and like everyone have this, every app is trying to have the same all purposes. So, which is something most of us don't like. So I think I don't know if it's a great analogy because it's a different thing, but
Yeah.
maybe in a way the fact that they have their own niches is good, another perspective could be this. I'm not sure if it's that's a great analogy, but I just thought about it.
No, yeah, I think so. I definitely do agree. And I'm on the same page as you, I feel.
We can talk maybe about what you said before that I didn't comment on around the AI integration in those applications.
Mm. So you mean specifically like Chloe and Marvelous and stuff? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, we can talk about them. We can also
Mm.
like go more broad in 3D or like artistic programs. We can start on the programs we're talking about if you want.
Yeah, okay. Let's start there then with the programs. I believe Chloe and Marvelous haven't really dabbled that much in AI. The only one that I've used on their platforms is at least on Marvelous. I'm not sure if it's available for Chloe, but you can AI generate your fabrics now. So you put in a prompt and it kind of comes up with a fabric that has like the normal map and stuff all built in,
Okay.
which I haven't really seen anywhere like to that quality. Like the art itself, the fabric pattern itself, sort of feels like 2022 Mid-Journey, to be honest.
Okay.
But yeah, but if you just play around with the prompt and you just keep tweaking it, you can actually get it to somewhere half decent. And especially if it's like a very, I wouldn't call it bland, but like a very simple fabric,
Mm.
just with like lines or something like that, it actually doesn't look too bad. If you start, having it create like physical patterns,
Mm.
have balloons or whatever, then it starts looking very old school AI. But it actually, I think it's going on an interesting direction, and I think it will actually, if they keep working on it, hopefully they do. I mean,
Mm.
I don't see any reason why they would stop it, especially with this sort of like AI boom. Um, yeah, I highly recommend sort of like playing around with it. I've only really tried it once, so I want to like spend more time sort of like curating my prompts to try and
Mm.
create a half decent fabric. But when you're like in, in a rush and you just want to see if it looks good and you just want to slap on like a half decent fabric that isn't from the library, it's quite easy and helpful to use. So that's I think is the only sort of AI, the sort of like generative AI, especially how we know it today, that
Mm.
is available in Marvelous. Obviously, they have more deeper AI, like artificial intelligence. I know I'm just like repeating myself there, but
Okay.
sort of like programming level
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
in the sense
Yeah.
of, for example, you can redress if you import a new avatar into
Mm.
Marvelous that looks totally different to the one that you've been working on, you can automatically redress your
Yeah.
garment to that avatar that looks nothing like your original avatar, which I think is very interesting. So arguably that's also artificial intelligence, right? But
Mm.
it's not generative, I think, with my very little knowledge of AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's
Have you
not
played
generative. Sorry?
hmm, have you played around with like I think it's like redressing? No, it's like a different
Yeah.
name to it, I think.
No, but I really wanted to. I've started to just use the same avatars and the same body with just sculpting the face differently. Um, so no, I haven't tried it, but I really want to. I think what truly interests me is this kind of AI, like both in like
Mm.
in all 3D programs, just not having to do the tedious stuff that suck our creative energy. Um, which like in Blender there are some plans around that. I think already there are some
Oh.
integrations which is with like
Mm.
AI in rendering for faster so you can render faster, but there are some plans around um, unwrapping, which is I think everyone hates unwrapping models, so yeah, um, I'm definitely excited for this kind of like AI technical integrations where we just don't have to spend so much time trying to make something look good. Um, yeah,
Mm.
I don't know. Maybe I have
Oh
gone
yeah.
out of subject because I'm talking about Blender too.
Oh no, I don't like it's all related, right?
Yeah.
Especially for what we do in our art. So I don't think it's like unrelated. But yeah, definitely. I think it's the unsexy work especially
Yeah.
as creators, that we want to spend less time on. And actually the work that everyone's like, oh, this will, help you in your research or help you design things. That's the part that is actually the most exciting for us. So it's like we
Yeah.
don't need aid in designing. Like
Yeah.
if you're starting off, maybe it will be helpful, if you have like decision fatigue, for
Mm.
example, or you don't know why it looks wrong, but you want, ChatGPT to tell you
Yeah.
how to improve your drawing or something, then you can feed it in and get it to analyze it for you, for example. Like that's kind of cool, I think. But a lot of programs that are coming out, at least from our perspective, they don't really help yet,
Mm.
with the exception of, I think I've seen a few sort of digital fashion creators feed their renders into AI models to like upscale it.
Yeah.
So to make the garments look even more realistic than they do in the 3D, because obviously with 3D renders, at least with what we know now, it requires a lot of knowledge in Blender and lighting and
Mm.
all these different things that are probably like in the traditional world 20 people's worth of work, but
Yeah.
we all have to
Yeah.
do it on our own, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's sort of, yeah, and using AI in that sense to just sort of aid in your creation and just
Mm.
help out a little bit, I think. And I went even further into attention, but
No, no, no,
that's my
no.
point on top of yours.
You didn't. I think Style 3D already
Mm-hmm.
has that integrated,
Yeah.
especially on the face. They use some kind of AI
Yeah.
model that is it's getting either the avatar or the face more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the best example of the good output in like this kind of programs. I think everyone is just trying to get on the AI hype
Yeah.
wagon without doing the proper work or research. I don't want to be strict, but like it's better to not input an AI option that doesn't make a good work, or like it's like kind
Mm.
of wasting our time, right? If we know the manual workflow, and instead of playing around to create something that isn't doesn't have a good output, it's like we waste more time. I think something around patterns that could be helpful is like having an image like the color, right? The color
Mm-hmm.
image for the fabric. And two things could be like generate the normal map, but also make it symmetrical, like without I forgot the word,
Mm.
like seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be
That's true.
great.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. 100% agree. I think the problem with the barrier with AI, especially in the sort of fashion and art sort of realm, is that up until now, and hopefully continuing on as well, it's been taboo to sort of share your process. Well, I don't know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing, but sharing your process, sharing your skills, sharing your knowledge has sort of been taboo, especially in the fashion industry. So
Mm,
this is something that dates back to like the 1950s when fashion magazines like Vogue, they went, oh, we should share, patterns for
mm,
the dresses, like the high end dresses, so that people can create these high end garments at home, even if they can't afford these
mm,
thousands of dollars worth of,
yeah,
high end couture. And
yeah,
essentially, what happened was, obviously, as it would, people went and bought all these Vogue magazines and they created their own garments, and the fashion industry was at a loss, and were like, oh, well, that backfired. And obviously, that wasn't the only thing that happened. A whole lot of other stuff happened, but it basically triggered everyone to be very, very secretive, very, very competitive. And it essentially just spearheaded the toxicity of the fashion industry, which is what we are left with today. And so, what that means in relation to AI is that there's just not enough information or data out there for people to read, or the AIs rather, to sort of build off of.
Mm.
So that's why even on some of the more advanced AI models like Midjourney, even today you go in and you try to create like a realistic garment, there's something really off about it that just doesn't look stylish, or even if it does, it looks, you can tell it's AI created.
Mm.
And a lot of people argue that that's probably one of the reasons. It's probably not the only one, but it's definitely one of the bigger reasons. And I think it's definitely one of the reasons for why it's taking so many people so long to create good or half decent AI models around or related to
Mm.
fashion. Because I know I still haven't been able to use it. I'm not sure if you have, but Fabricant, I think, have created an AI model. I definitely want to go try that out. It looks good, at least the images that they've shared. So it'll be interesting to see who adopts it and where it goes from here as well, I think.
Mm. No, I've seen it, but I haven't tried it
Same.
either. But that I really loved that, history segment you shared, because I thought before you finished, I thought the direction would go to something more positive, like maybe it was a groundbreaking thing, and it kind of like helped the fashion industry flourish with more different kind of ideas. But yeah, it makes sense. And it's actually kind of shocking how it's been so long, like how the history of then is still affecting the struggles of what's happening now, like the gatekeeping of the fashion industry. I think it's, I don't have that much of a knowledge about the fashion industry in that kind of way, but I think generally there is some kind of gatekeeping in art. There is some kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, superiority or like fear that people will copy
Mm.
the artist, which is understandable in a way. I think something that is maybe changing this for both fields is, which is, it's weird because we're supposed to becoming all content creators if we want to stay relevant, which
Yeah.
is has its many downsides, but at the same time, people who would have never tried to explain their process or do tutorials are trying. And so
Mm.
that kind of, I've seen that both in like digital fashion, I think in the last like 2 years, there have been much more tutorials and people being open about their process. So yeah, something that is kind of weird for us as artists and like designers is actually has a good side on that, gatekeeping culture.
Definitely, definitely. No, yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting, I think, looking back on this sort of AI boom era. It's probably what they're going to call it. Who are kidding? And to just see it from the filter of the future, to see what we look like, because obviously I'm kind of going on tangent here again, but
No, go ahead.
fashion is always influenced by like history of, not history, but like what's happening politically at the moment and
Mm.
what's happening sort of, all the changes around us as
Mm.
well. At the moment, I think we're going through like a really fast cycle of sort of fashion repeating itself. But
Mm.
obviously, each time it repeats itself, there's like a new version of it, right?
Mm.
And yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see, to like look back and be like, oh, we were influenced by like the AI era more than we thought, because I'm not seeing it as much. There are definitely some designers who are like literally using AI in their art because it's, the new technology, which I think is awesome, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just, it's going to be, those are the pieces that are going to be archived essentially.
We are in an era with so much contrast, right? Because
Mm,
there is both the AI boom and everything is evolving super fast tech-wise, that at the same time, like I won't get very sociopolitical, but we're going through so many big changes. I feel the world is like kind of crumbling to change, not to just crumble, like to be optimistic, But it's like such a big contrast, right? So, um, I don't know where AI will go and if the scenario or like the future will be optimistic or not, but
Hmm.
I think there will always be both good and bad intentions. And if we focus at least on the good ones, I know there will be people who will develop for the right purposes and help like both artists and designers. And I'm sure not to generalize, as we're talking most about like 3D and art, but I think in fields that it's like needed in like um in more science related stuff, um,
Hmm.
I think everything kind of affects each other. Like you talked like about the fashion trends and how what is happening is also affecting it. The thing with trends also is like very interesting to me how we're constantly going back to the past and something that a question that I have that you can also tell me your opinion is like personally, I feel like culture stopped at like max like 2010, like
Yes.
like something. Maybe it's because of our era, right? That we view this in that
Yeah.
lens, but I feel everything has been just a copy of each other. Yeah, there are
Hmm.
some things are evolving, but it's still a copy of other eras. So I'm just wondering, we're now like it was supposed like Y2K was very famous. It still is, but I'm seeing now replications of 2000 uh 5 and 10. So I'm
Yeah.
like in the next years, what are we trying to replicate something in the future years of that is a copy of a copy, or are we going even backwards? Or is it like a remix of that stuff? Because right now there are also like more medieval stuff mixed. They're
Oh, really?
like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like one trend in like, I even saw this in one article, like swords and armors. And I think it's
Huh.
also, it has been kind of introduced through celebrity culture with like,
Oh,
maybe I think Sapel Rowe did like a
oh,
um,
yes.
yeah, I
And
think,
I can visualize it. I don't know what it's called, but yes, I can definitely.
yeah, I don't have the full image as well, but I'm just noticing little bits, and it's like we're trying to create something new by mixing something that is on the very recent past and not so recent past. But it's not, yeah, that's how, I mean, true authenticity like doesn't exist. It's always a combination of other stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just sorry, I'm rambling, but I just
No,
wanted
you're
to
not.
know
No, you're
your
not. Yeah.
opinion about what do you think the future trends will
Mm.
go towards? What if you have seen something or if you have like a prediction or just a comment about what I said?
No, I love everything that you're saying, and I definitely agree. Like, I think we lived the best era of sort of self-expression and sort of just being our unique selves, I think, in that sort of bracket of 20, no, 2000 and I want to say like six through to six might be too early, but just roughly all the way through to 2000 and I want to say 11, probably 10. I think that bracket, everyone who was like young or youngish,
Yeah.
depending on how you view yourself, but in like the teens all the way to like probably like 30s, maybe even 40s, had like the best time, both art wise, fashion wise, and also music wise, right?
Yeah.
Music from that time just hit differently. And some of those songs have just become, well, not that they've become like they were like big then, but they're still big now to some
Yeah.
extent, not because we grew up with them, but because there hasn't been music that impactful maybe with the exception of the last year or so, I think we're finally
Mm.
coming back into like a music era very slowly. Like last year was, you mentioned Chaperone, but Charlie XCX and maybe Sabrina Carpenter. I think she's a little bit too poppy still, but it's sort of like, yeah. And it's interesting when you like dive into that deep hole, that sort of like rabbit hole of music, especially from people from that era. And when they were, we were all clubbing to all like the amazing music, and none of that music, or at least that style of music, exists now.
Mm.
And people like Lady Gaga are sort of coming back with that sort of
Yeah.
techno music, and all of us from the era going, hang on,
Yeah,
what's happening?
yeah. She's bringing it back.
Yeah. So that's one point that I had, I think. It's just been so boring up until recently. Even now, I don't think, especially from when you solely just look at the fashion side, it's still very safe, very boring. I
Mm.
haven't seen anything new, so to say, maybe with the exception of Chaperone, but even with her work, it's sort of like taking something that exists and making it herself, which
Mm.
again is new and I love it, don't get
Mm.
me
Mm.
wrong,
Mm.
but it still feels a little safe
Yeah.
apart from the sort of like her embracing the drag side of herself. I love that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. That brings a lot more awareness and a lot more inclusivity. But apart from that, like the actual pieces and the actual fashion itself, like we saw Lady Gaga wearing that exact outfit 20 years ago, right? Essentially, arguably. So yeah, from like an art or like technical side, I think it's still very safe. And I don't see it changing in a hurry, apart from, again, not to make it too political, but whatever's happening in the world right now, how the young people or the young generation
Mm.
of this time reacts to it from an artistic perspective. I don't think we've seen anyone do it in your face yet. Like some people have started making movements, but
Mm.
once we start seeing the sort of global effect of it and how people start being rebellious and stuff, we'll start seeing new trends hopefully emerging from there. Like, we've seen it in every era, like the
Mm.
70s and the 90s and basically every era it's
Mm.
happened. So it'll be interesting to see, hopefully, something come out of that. But
Mm.
otherwise, I have no hope, to be honest. And
I
yeah,
agree.
I don't know where it's gonna go from here. Like you mentioned, because I can't remember when it was, but I want to say in like 2010, I would like raid my mum's 80s closet for like
Same.
items. And she would be like, you want to wear that? And I'm like, yes. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I want the 10 centimeter high-waisted belt. Like,
Yeah.
I wore that thing to the ground. And she was like, I've owned this for like 20 years. Like, are you
Yeah.
okay? And yeah, so that was what, third, I can't math at this time of night. 30 years. So yeah, it was like items from the 80s, 2010-ish, give or take. But now we're already like, to take Chaperone's words off her, she's calling items from 2005 vintage. It's just crazy.
This hurts me.
I know. I'm like, wait, what? That is a bad thing. Vintage, what? That was like yesterday. Like, no, it wasn't. But yeah.
This is an alternate universe. It's not reality. Yeah.
No, this is not 2025. No. But yeah, in all seriousness, but yeah. Talking of on a tangent again, but have you seen that creator who like dresses like herself in 2016? She's on TikTok. You have to see it. It's hilarious. You're probably a little bit too young, 2016, 2006, but there's like this.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
please share it with me.
Okay, I'll find it. No, she does like her makeup and the way she dresses. It's all done from that time of being like a rebellious teenager from that time.
Please
It's
tell me
too
she has like emo kind of. No,
in
that
some
was
yeah.
no, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's more like the sort of popular girl sort of look.
Mm,
So think
mm.
like Mean Girls, but more exaggerated.
Yeah.
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 What were you gonna say?
No, I think like even emos was a bit late. It was like 2 years later. The hype, like 2008, was more. Maybe it depends on the country as well.
Country and
But
yeah, how old you are as well. Because my emo phase was definitely earlier than
yeah,
that. At least people around me, I wasn't fully emo, but yeah.
yeah,
Because emo for me is like Evanescence and
yeah,
early days of Avril Lavigne.
yeah.
So it's like 2003, 4, maybe. I don't know. I
That
could
was
be getting
the original
yeah.
emo. Then
On
I
it.
think,
Oh, I missed that one.
yeah, I think then after that it went too dark. I
Uh,
was of that generation that went too dark and too weepy. Like, fuck, stop crying. You know. Uh,
oh no, that's hilarious.
um, but something I want to comment about what you said earlier, which I'm going to forget if I don't say it now. Sorry.
No,
Around
I have a point from before as well.
okay.
You heard.
So about the future generation and fashion trends, I agree on the social, like political, whatever happens like in the world, which I think something is going to happen and it's already like bubbling the whole thing. It,
Yeah.
always like historically it affected and completely changed fashion. And as an extra, why I believe this will happen extra and we are not expecting it, I would just throw some astrological
Oh,
thing, which is like because Neptune uh, entered Aries, which we haven't experienced in like so many years. Um, like Neptune has a lot to do with our artistic expression and aesthetic.
oh, okay.
And so far, because it was in Pisces, which is more dreamy and ethereal, we had that going on. And in Aries, it's aggressive and loud and shocking.
Oh,
So I think we're going, yeah, and it's like also a cycle close because like Aries is the first sign. So I think it's both a new start and it's going to be a bold start. I don't
oh,
know when it's going to start being more shocking, but taking that into account, maybe it's because I'm hopeful and I like to believe that, it would change. But also, like, even if not considering astrology, I feel people are starting to get sick of the whole copy thing and being unoriginal. So I think something
mm.
will come out of that frustration. People will start wanting to do new things. So, yeah, I can't wait to see how the future unfolds in that area, at least.
No, yeah, definitely. That's super interesting. How long will it be in Neptune?
I think it's going to
Mm.
be for at least 10 years. It's one of the very outer
Oh,
planets.
wow, it's long, long. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. No,
Maybe
that's
12. Yeah.
oh wow. Okay. So it's like a big change then. It's not just like
Yeah.
a this month or like next month sort of
Yeah. It's a
big.
radical social kind of change. It like the outer planets affect the collective. So, yeah.
Mhm. Oh, okay, interesting.